Alright, welcome everybody to your guide for a stress-free quarantine. My name is Brandon and this is my page, Young Kingmakers, where I share the kinds of things I've learned about self-development and living a better life. Thanks for being here and for checking out this video. The first thing you should know is that nothing you're going to see here is theoretical. Not only have I done these things in my own life and continue to do them as consistently as possible, but these things are practiced by lots of people worldwide. All I've done here is compile them for your reference. I'll demonstrate what I think would benefit from a demonstration, explain what each of these 5 things can do for you, and share with you how you can begin doing them today. In my honest assessment, we've done kind of a bad job of sharing these types of things, even with the positive messages that we're trying to share as a nation. Hopefully this practical guide will give you the tools you need to overcome the stresses of your life for however long this quarantine lasts. So without further ado, here we go. The first thing that you can do that'll give you a stress-free quarantine is to practice what's known as breathwork. For those of you who don't know, breathwork is the term given to controlling your breathing, usually in specific ways that provide you with powerful bodily results. Here's the thing. Breathing does way more for you than just keep you alive. Your body is designed to run on oxygen more than anything else in nature, and when you let yourself realize that you get by on a minimal input of this substance, you stand to realize how much more is possible when you let yourself experience greater oxygen intake. Here are some of the things that practicing breathwork can do. It works as cardiovascular exercise when done in intervals. It increases your natural energy production, increases blood flow to the brain, builds up your carbon dioxide tolerance, reduces the acidity of your blood, directly counteracts anxiety by shutting off an overthinking mind, accelerates the learning curve of meditation, provides a natural God-given euphoria. Of these things, what I consider the most important is how it directly counteracts anxiety and actually increases your pain tolerance, which is a studied side effect of altering the pH in your blood to becoming slightly more alkalinic. There are some great sources you can research to learn more about breathwork. Just Google either holotropic breathing or the Wim Hof method. This is a breathing exercise I made up after studying Wim Hof and combining his lessons with the breathing techniques I learned in marching band in high school. Start by sitting down in a comfortable position or lying down. You'll experience lightheadedness when you do this properly and a tingling sensation in your limbs. This is all normal and it's okay. Just be in a place where if you need to stop, you won't be in any danger. Find yourself a metronome. These can be found on apps in your phone or online. Set the tempo to 100 BPM. Start by breathing in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. Don't stop breathing in until the end of the 4th beat, and don't stop breathing out until the end of the second 4th beat. Repeat this 4 times. In for 4, out for 4. Do the same thing but for 6 counts. In for 6, out for 6. Do this twice. Now go in for 8 and out for 8. Remember to stretch out your breathing to encompass all the beats. Don't stop or start early. This is going to slow your breathing down and will stretch out your thoracic cavity. Do this twice. Go back down for an in for 6 and out for 6. Now an in for 4 and out for 4. Switch to an in for 2 and out for 2 and do this 8 times. Keep your focus on your breath and don't get distracted by how your body is feeling. Sit with the breath alone. End with an in for 4 and out for 4. Breathe out completely and hold. Recognize how you don't feel the need to breathe. Sit like this for a little bit and focus on how you're feeling. This is a practice that develops an interoceptive focus and very easily connects your mind to your body. Once you feel the natural urge to breathe again, take a deep breath in, squeeze your abs slightly like you're trying to poop, and direct the blood to your head. Don't overdo this. It takes a little while for the blood to get there, but you'll feel it when it does. You know you've gone too far if you feel your head pulsating and you develop a slight headache. Smaller is better until you get familiar with your own body. Rest. Repeat this process 2 more times. For maximum results, try doing this as well before you do the breathing exercise. Stretch out your body by rotating your torso. Circle and expand your rib cage. Pull the skin around the bottom of your rib cage up and out. This stretches it a little and allows for some additional flexibility. Breathe out completely, put your hands over your head, and breathe in. Do this 3 times. One last thing, breathwork can be thought of as both a medicine or a vitamin. In other words, you can either do it when you feel it's absolutely necessary or as a daily practice. Just keep in mind that doing it as a daily practice will in fact change your life because it'll start altering the baseline hormone balance your body accepts as normal. So if you really want to fast track your way to feeling happier every day, well, there you go. Moving on. The second thing you can do is establish a morning routine. The first hour of your day is the most important. What you do in the morning is what actually sets the tone for your entire day. That's why people harp on it so much and why wealthy or successful people talk ad nauseum about it. Because it's true. Think of your day like a book. When you wake up and when you go to sleep are like the covers of that book. All you need to do is control the covers of the book and the rest of the contents will fill in once you've set that cover. It's actually really weird how well this works. If you feel like trying to control your whole day is difficult, you don't need to worry about it. All you really need to do is control the bookends. What makes a good morning routine? According to Hal Elrod, writer of the book The Miracle Morning, the best morning routine to have is what he calls the savers. Silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, or writing. I've had the chance to meet Hal in person, and he's one of the most powerful and positive people I've ever seen, and his story is amazing. He studied the morning habits of the most successful people in the world and found those 6 elements in various ways in their morning routines. You don't have to do all of them, but if you do, you'll start your day with so much energy you might feel like a totally different person. Here's how to do the savers in an hour every morning. Again, be careful because this does have the power to alter the life you're leading. No phoniness here. To wake up, set an alarm for just a little earlier than you normally wake up. Have your alarm, be it on your phone or alarm clock, be somewhere else in your room other than right next to you, so you have to get up to turn it off. Do not hit the snooze button. Have a bottle of water next to your bed and drink it before you do anything else. The combination of getting up to turn off your alarm and drinking your water will wake up your body very quickly. Start your day in silence. Take 10 minutes to meditate or pray or read something. Have some coffee if you want, it'll help to speed the wake-up process, but isn't really necessary. Take the next 10 minutes and recite what are called affirmations, basically statements about yourself that you agree with or would like to agree with in the near future. Affirmations are statements that create your identity, so basically this step is like programming your inner computer in the morning with a program you'd like it to run for the rest of the day. I have some affirmations you can use in the description of this video, but if you want to come up with your own that you feel would resonate better with you, by all means please do so. Next is visualization. If you have a goal you want to see accomplished, spend 10 minutes in your imagination and picture what it'll feel like to be on the other end of that goal. The more details you can add into it, the better. If you don't have a goal, spend some time thinking about the kind of day you want to have, and make it a good one. Next is exercise. For the next 10 minutes, do some exercise. I personally like doing some sets of bodybuilders, like you see in the video here, combined with a quick jog around the block. If you can't jog around the block, practice doing some jump rope, even if your jump rope is invisible. The 10 minutes fly by so fast it's ridiculous. And you're gonna have a lot of energy by this point, especially if you remember that the purpose of this exercise is not to drain your body out, but instead just energize it. Get your blood pumping, get your heart rate up, change your physiology. Spend the next 10 minutes reading something. Ideally, don't use ebooks as there's added benefits to reading printed words instead of words on the screen. Your brain actually processes them differently. If reading is a challenge, there are some great audiobooks on YouTube for free. I've got some links to some audiobooks that I found on YouTube that have been really helpful for my life if you want to check them out. Finally, spend the last 10 minutes of your morning scribing or writing. Open up a Word document, notepad, or old journal and spend the next 10 minutes writing about anything you want. This is going to hone the energy you've created and allow your mind to center itself again now that it's fully pumped up. If you want to create your own morning routine, by all means, pick and choose of these 6 if you want, There's nothing saying you can't, but all of them together makes for some intense results. What's important is that you start your day with purpose, not lying around waiting to wake up. If you're having some trouble getting out of bed, the problem isn't your morning, it's your day. There's something in your day you don't want to face, so it's easier staying in bed and doing nothing. Give yourself something to do the night before so you wake up with at least some kind of thing to look forward to, and waking up will be easier. The purpose with which you'll wake up the following day will be in direct proportion to how exciting the goal is you set the night before. Moving on to the third thing. The third thing you can do is create. You are, by definition, a creator. Christian philosophy believes this is one of the ways humanity was made in the image of God. Non-religious philosophies recognize creation as one of the highest human attributes. It's in the imagination that revolutionary ideas are first created. You naturally are a creative person. Maybe not in art or music or philosophy, but absolutely in something. If you're in lockdown or quarantine, you're coming face to face with this reality and it's giving you anxiety. For such a long time, your time has been centered on the daily grind of work or school. But now that you can't do both, you're suddenly aware of all the time you have on your hands. It makes sense that the first thing you'd want to do is waste that time. Just let it pass by till things return to normal. Video games, movies, and TV shows are the best ways of doing this, but they leave you feeling empty, as though another day was wasted, maybe not on the surface but deep down. That's because, in a big way, you are just wasting time. Creativity is a time-intensive process, which is why doing it now will give you that sense of direction or purpose that you may feel you've lost. Don't waste your time, use it. To find what you're naturally creative in is easy. All you really need to do is look at what kinds of things you did when you were a little kid. Children are naturally in touch with their creativity way more so than adults. Going through the schooling process tempers the creative spirit, but it remains inside of you, waiting to be rediscovered. What did you do when you were a kid that you could do forever? Was it building Legos? Was it coloring, drawing, playing outside, playing games with friends, listening to music, playing on the computer? No matter what year you were born in or what your childhood consisted of, you have a creative aptitude. If you're still stumped, ask your parents or older relatives the kinds of things you used to do. Learn from their stories the kinds of things you used to do, and you'll have found your answer. Take whatever it was, and give yourself the blessing of doing it again. Avoid judging yourself for whatever it is. At no point as a little kid did you think your own creations were outlandish. That kind of thought came when you got older. You'll know you've hit the jackpot when the day flies by and what you've done has energized you, or left you feeling completely exhausted but wholly satisfied. You get a whole new day of playing tomorrow, so what's the worry? The fourth thing you can do is something I call anxiety redirection. This one might piss some people off because to do it requires you to challenge an aspect of yourself you didn't realize was part of your identity, so I'm expecting to get some flack for this. Regardless, it's something that I've done and that I've coached people on doing, so it works. What we think of as anxiety is actually our brains working the way they're supposed to. Your brain is a magnificent tool you use to help you figure out the world around you. One of the ways your brain does so is to contemplate the many ways a situation may play out, and another way is to identify and flesh out the details so you don't make an uninformed decision. We call these things anxiety and OCD and then try to figure out ways of not doing them. The travesty is in mislabeling these things as bad because it robs us from seeing what they really are and how powerfully they can serve us. It's well known that Albert Einstein exhibited signs in school that we'd now label as being ADD. But ADD didn't exist back then. Thank God. What Albert had was a brain that fixed onto an idea so strongly that all other ideas or priorities melted away. This is not a disorder. This is a superpower. Your anxiety is a superpower. To see how, you have to think of it like a tornado. You start with a thought. Usually this thought is about the future and all the things you don't know about it. That little thought then begins to spiral, as your brain begins to contemplate more details about it. As it contemplates details, it then starts to think of the details of those details. As brains do, they'll ask questions and then provide themselves with an answer that is somewhat satisfactory, usually just enough to move on to the next question until it finds one that it can't give itself an answer to. As it does so, the spiral gets wider and wider until suddenly the one thought is so overwhelming that it freaks you out. And you call it anxiety. Anxiety is your brain working normally but thinking about a flawed premise. That flawed premise is the future. Your brain tries to make sense out of a future that hasn't happened yet. What kind of anxiety do you have that isn't in some way related to the future? The answer to anxiety isn't in stopping the thought from spiraling, it's in taking that initial thought and replacing it with one about the present moment. Anxiety is another word for awareness. The only problem is when we use this awareness to try to figure out the future, because no matter how well we think we can figure it out, we'll always be missing something. Our awareness when we think about the future centers around the things that go wrong. It doesn't take into account all the things that will go right. That's why when we take this process and apply it to the present, it'll show us not the things that go wrong, but the things that go right. Redirect the spiraling process to grow your awareness of the things that are at work right now in the present moment. When you do this, you allow yourself to recognize the things you actually can't when you think about the future. The good things. Imagine it's Thanksgiving 2019. As you sit down to eat Thanksgiving dinner, suddenly a portal appears and out pops you. It's you from April 2020. You from April 2020 tells you from Thanksgiving 2019 that in the next year there will be a global pandemic that shuts down all life as you know it, and then vanishes. What kind of anxiety would you have knowing that there's a huge global shutdown and virus pandemic in your imminent future? How many nights would you have laid awake worrying about that? Would you have ever anticipated in those anxious thoughts that here you are right now in April 2020, living as though today was just like any other day? Or that you'd find yourself watching a video on how to make the best out of the world? Your present moment can never be fully understood until it happens. Your brain can't anticipate or predict everything, but it can become aware of what's going on around you. That's what I mean by redirecting your anxiety. First, realize that there's nothing wrong with you. Instead, let yourself realize that you're working normally. In fact, probably better than normal. All that's really happened is you've accidentally let the superpower fixate on something it was never supposed to fixate on. To redirect your anxiety once you've realized your brain isn't disorderly, but supercharged, is to challenge your anxiety to make you aware of the things working for you in the present moment. Challenge what you call anxiety to think about the things that you can be thankful for. The food in your pantry, the bed you sleep in, the pet who gives you love. Redirect the mental process of anxiety by realizing that it's actually just awareness. And that awareness can melt away the stresses in your life the more it shows you all the things working for you. And finally, the last thing you can do to give yourself a stress-free quarantine is expose yourself to what's known as hormesis. Hormesis can not only get rid of stress, it can make your immune system stronger too. Hormesis is a term used by toxicologists to describe something that is very good for you if you're exposed to it a little bit, and bad if you're exposed to a lot of it. Think of vaccines, radiation treatment, fasting, exercise, or cold exposure. Mini doses of something dangerous or lethal that actually make your body more resilient. These are known as hormetic stresses. To make the most out of the hormetic stress I recommend, we're going to combine cold exposure with what's known as the mammalian dive reflex, the survival mechanism built into our bodies as a response to being submerged in cold water. We can take advantage of the mammalian dive reflex by placing our face and our hands in cold water. This triggers a slowing of your heartbeat and a redirection of your blood flow into your heart, your lungs, and your brain. Information from breathology.com also points to how this reflex also causes your spleen to release more red blood cells, which can have a greater impact on your circulation. Giving yourself this type of stress does amazing things for your capacity to handle stress while also lowering it at the same time. If you want to try this, here's a few things to remember. For one, make sure that the water is under 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The dive response hasn't been identified in water at 70 degrees or higher. Keep your back horizontal. Also, do not combine any type of breath work with this. Any breathing exercise you do should be far away from water, so even though it might seem like you can hold your breath for longer, don't do it. There's a condition known as shallow water blackout that can kill. Do not combine the two. Simply take a deep breath, expose your face to the cold water until your breath runs out, and then take it out. Pay attention to what's happening in your body. What do you feel is happening? Not just in your face, but in your pulse. Do you feel any blood moving? Develop this interoceptive focus. It'll lead to another superpower that we'll talk about some other time. This is also a good way to begin to expose your body to cold showers, which is a daily practice that can also be a hormetic stress. Cold showers are not easy to do, and if you're having trouble, it makes sense. As kind of a side note, what I've noticed works well for getting yourself used to cold showers is to start with a warm shower and just for the last few seconds, just turn that handle all the way to the cold and stay there for as long as you can, and then just shut it off. This is a very beginner step that can help you to get used to that feeling, but also exposing your face and hands to the cold water can do this as well. That brings us to the end of the stress-free quarantine guide. If you do these 5 things and do them consistently, you'll find your time in quarantine absolutely transformed. Share your experiences in the comments and spread the word of the stress-free quarantine life to everyone you know. All it takes is a like and a share. I'd like for this channel to become a hub of transformative information spanning physical, mental, and spiritual paths, the kinds of which have the power to reverse the negative trajectory a lot of us may feel the world is on. It's my hope that Young Kingmakers gets huge, but it can only do so with your help. I can't stress enough how important you are, and please never forget that. This is Brandon with Young Kingmakers wishing you a happy quarantine, and I'll see you around. Okay, everybody gone? Cool. So let me be honest with you guys. I want to continue to grow as a person and as a YouTube channel, which means I'll be experimenting with trying new ways of doing things. I'm aware that the content I've made over the last couple years has a distinct flavor, I guess, but it feels a little showboaty and it's not getting results, so I'm going to mix things up a little. I want to keep growing by doing the things that work and canning what doesn't. This video has a different flavor because I made a motorcycle review once using this format and it actually got pretty popular. So popular in fact that I took it down because I wasn't ready for that kind of attention. But right now I want to share what I know because it's time I started giving back to the world that's given so much to me. So thanks for sticking this far, I appreciate your support of the channel and I hope it grows big, not just for my sake but for yours as well. The more people's lives we can help, the better. Okay, now I'm really gone.